This chart showed the genealogy, the beginning and the end, from Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, Jacob and Leah, and Judah and Tamar, toward Haran and Lot and his descendants, gets to Eglon and gets to Ruth. Is the foundation of the story, deep love story, deep story that reached the heart of the Jewish people, reached to King David, and the story of Jewish survival. This chart that took me many hundreds of hours to prepare, in the book Ruth Talk Question and Answers and the book of Ruth that I have the privilege to print several times. It's a description of life of people that dedicate themselves to the service of the Lord. So we dedicate this part of our learning involved with the story of Yibum and the story of the Levirate marriage in conjunction to our times. The point of departure is the story of how Ruth met Boaz. We discussed in the past that Ruth reached the land of Israel, and she was not only childless, but she was in a way homeless, with nothing. Yet she made up her mind to go to Boaz with the instruction of Naomi and try to convince him to redeem her. The beauty of this character of Boaz and Ruth is the beauty with chesed, of kindness, of people who are really not a selfish people. One of the mistakes that people make in their lives is they carrying the baggages, the painful, the sadness, the bruises that they have from the past experiences and carry them throughout their lives. You are sometimes in a situation you think, I talked to a fellow just several days ago and I said, you're still mad at a person that is 20 years dead. What's wrong with you? You're still mad at your father that he's now in a senior citizen's house. What's wrong with you? Boaz, in a way, was disappointed because this is Elimelech, his close relative, one of the wealthy people, a judge. He and his wife Naomi pack up everything, left at the time of need. They went to the foreign land, they went to the land of Moab, the enemies. And when they return, people start saying, what happened here? And in many ways, they even ignore the situation that Naomi came, and on the top of that brought with her a girl, a Moabite girl. Boaz, however, did not behave in that manner. He helped Ruth and he told her to pick up the food and to bring to her mother-in-law, and later he took care of the Ruth needs in the most generous way. So among many lessons, one of them we right away can learn is the idea that sometimes in life we have to let go things in the past. There are situations in life that we carry those bruises, we carry those painful experiences, and that affecting us in so many ways, we're hurting ourselves. I like the statement that said in those invoices, paid in full. That's the attitude we should carry always. Not to carry luggages. You go on those airlines, you see that they charge you for luggages. The whole idea that if you want to carry past luggages, it will cost you. That's the attitude that Boaz had in such a way when he accepted Ruth and said to her, I'll help you, and he did, and he followed his promise. But back to our basic question. Number one, her conversion, and number two, the whole idea of Levirate marriage. the rabbis debate over the process of conversion of Ruth. There are those who hold the opinion that she was much earlier converted. Some even hold that she converted originally by their late husband. Others hold that they came to the land of Israel and Naomi was the one who basically led her to the proper conversion, which led to the point that some hold, unlike the story of the biblical Moses' wife and others, that she was the formal first convert to Judaism. A proof to that, they try to say in the chapter 1, when there is a dialogue between Ruth and Naomi, and the rabbis dealt with that at lot, and they said, Naomi said to her, why you are following me? Do you think I will have a children? I will not have a children. Do you think that anyone's going to marry you? It's not going to happen, etc. She said to her, all these problems with the Jewish people, all these issues that they have with persecution, etc. And she kept saying to her, Asher telchi elech, wherever you go, I will go. Ba'asher talini alin, wherever you sleep, I will sleep. Amechami ve'elokayich elokai, she said, even it's come to all these laws of Shabbat and Kashrut and burial, anything and everything I'll follow. The Jewish way, she said, Ba'asher tamuti amut v'sham ekaver, I'll do everything according to halacha. So, in that sense, some hold that that was the source of Ruth's conversion process that took place, and some said even finalized by Naomi. There are others who hold the opinion that Ruth's final conversion took place much later, when Boaz finally, quote-unquote, redeemed her by collecting the 10 elders, his court, and having them together around him, and they finally accepted her conversion and then accepted the new marriage between second marriage of Ruth and second marriage of Boaz, which led later to have their child Oved and the future child King David and his child Solomon. The other question of Levirate marriage, which is a deep question, we'll discuss it further in the future, but just the seed of that question. The Torah tells us several important statements, both in the book of Deuteronomy and some in other books of the Torah. That tells us that if a man married to a woman and he passed away unfortunately childless, it is an obligation of his single brother to marry his sister-in-law in order, quote-unquote, to redeem the soul of the deceased. The great Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachmanides, explained it in the book of Bereshit, the story of Yehuda. He speaks about the Gilgulim, the transmigration of soul. In our language, it's like the spark of the soul of the deceased come back and have perpetuation toward the new child that come out of the new union between the deceased's wife, which is the newly wife of the single brother. For sure, it's created its own problems, its own complications, which we're going to deal in the future, such as the story of Judah and Tamar, his daughter-in-law, such as the story of Boaz and Ruth, and other stories in the Tanach. But the whole concept of lack of selfishness, loving kindness, it's expressed in Boaz, because Boaz can easily get away with that and leave her alone, and the most he can do is just giving her food, and that's it. But he instead went out of his way to do that. Not just that, he did it, which we call in our language, halachically correct. He let the other potential closest relative, which is not clear if his name Ploni Almoni or his name is Tov. We don't know the clear story. Most of the rabbis hold that Ploni Almoni is just a name of someone who's unknown in order not to embarrass him. But that fellow did not want to take this opportunity, and then the only by default in that sense was the Boaz who initiated that union. But you see, if out of darkness that Ruth had, no hope in life, no nothing, no money, no children, no nothing, come the Lord God and help her. And that's something that we should learn, what Isaiah tells us. That when you let go, when you forgive, when you give an opportunity to open a new chapter in your life, you open yourself to joy, to happiness, and God promised that I'll pay in full. And God never missed a payment. God's always the one who paid and paid in full. So there are so many lessons we learn from this beautiful small book of Ruth. Some of them we just mentioned earlier, and the next lecture we're going to deal much deeper with the story of the ancestry of Ruth, going back to original Lot, also the little deeper with the law of Yibum, and hopefully we'll reach the point that we'll deal deeply with the text itself in the next several lectures.